Hey everybody, you're listening to the Hisessions Hawaii podcast where we talk about everything local and beyond. I'm John Yamasato, your host, and joining me today is Mr. Kyle Shimabukuro. Devon Nekoba.
Shimabukuro.
All right.
You screw up that last name. Your best friend is the guy with that last name.
I know. It's been a long week.
Dude, it's only Tuesday.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, man.
Before we begin, let me remind listeners of the ways they can stay in touch with the show. There's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Hisessions. Actually, you know what? I haven't been posting on... It's not even Twitter anymore. I should say X.
X.
Yeah, no, I haven't even been posting there.
Did you cut your hair again, by the way?
No, but I have product in there.
Okay, yeah, because it's sticking up, which it normally doesn't do.
Yeah, I had a meeting today.
Oh,
So
this is what you do with your hair when you have a meeting?
Well, it depends on where in my hair journey I am.
What kind of product are you using in here?
Pomade.
Pomade?
Pomade,
Like
yeah.
the kind you buy at a drugstore that costs like $5?
Well, I get it from Mojo Barbershop. Shout out to Mojo Barbershop.
I thought it's called pomade.
Because that's what
I
it
thought
is.
it's pomade.
Pomade.
Pomade?
The kind Kami uses it too.
Yeah.
Sorry, our friend Ryan Kaminaga.
Yeah.
Who doesn't watch this podcast?
Anyway, it's
but
nice.
okay.
Anyway, moving on. Your hair is
Anyway.
nice.
Alright, okay. You
Yeah,
can go to-
it looks good. It's just now with the headphone, it's gonna screw it all up.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm done with meetings after this. All right. I can go to SoundCloud, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, listen to the podcast. And you can go to hisessions@yahoo.com to email us. Jeez. If you'd like to help the show, get more music on the channel, go to patreon.com and donate. Oh, wait. There you'll be more involved with the show and help determine who and what is filmed. No new patrons, but if you could do me a favor, audience, we are 2 subscribers away from 500 subscribers on YouTube.
Nice.
So if we can just get 2 more by the next podcast, that would be great.
If you're already subscribed, just ask 2 other people.
Exactly.
Go sign up. You can. Then what do you need? One more.
Why would I sign up? I'm on the thing.
I signed up.
You're dumb.
All right. Okay. Thank you to Kupu Kupu Landscaping, Landscape Architects. You can call Kevin Yokomura, 808-722-8685 for a free estimate on landscaping, or go to kupukupulandscaping.com. Or you can visit Fort Ruger Market. Get your food on.
Yep.
Rugerlicious today, as usual.
Forgot to take pictures.
Oh, my God. We did that
Again?
again. I know. All right.
And I ate mine today, so sorry.
Yeah.
All we got is a picture of an
We'll
empty
figure
box.
it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. All right. You can find Devon, Kumu94.7, and Kyle at highlifeclothing.com.
By the way, the Aloha shirts and stuff are really cool. You guys should buy some
What?
if they still have.
Oh.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
thank
Aloha
you.
shirts and the
Thank you.
polo shirts. They're really nice, man.
Thanks, man.
They really are.
All right. Our guest today is Mr. Daren Kimura. He works at the Hawaiian Financial Federal Credit Union, right?
Yes, I
as
do.
well as a manager there. But
More
he's
so than
also-
anything else.
Oh,
yeah.
no, here we
well,
go.
He is the host of the Sports Cards and Collectables show on ESPN Radio. So he knows a little bit about sports card
Just a little.
collecting.
When is those shows air?
Every Tuesday, and it's live from 6 to 7 Tuesday nights. And
Okay.
if you missed the first part or you missed the second, or you want to hear an older episode, ESPNHonolulu.com has some of the episodes up there. Also, Sideline Hawaii app, and you can check out all the episodes
And
back a couple years.
what is it? Are you talking to? You're interviewing somebody that's in the industry, or you interview somebody that's collecting, or?
A little bit of both. We've had everything from Broadway stars to musicians.
Weren't you just on, John?
I was just on, yeah.
So we have artists, celebrities, as well as card shops, collectibles, and people that represent the industry from grading services on down. So we try to cover a lot of different things. We even talk to guys who do coins and silver and all of that too.
Oh, okay. So just
Oh.
collectibles in
Collectibles in
general.
general, Funko Pops, toys, you name it.
Kikara dolls.
Kikaida dolls,
Yeah.
right? Pokemon, you name it. We'll cover it all. So
So we can actually
Devon
talk about
has,
some of
subs-
Devin's stuff today, because
Devon has
Devon
a
has like a...
Kikaida
He's
doll.
like, do you see the movie 40-Year-Old Virgin?
Yeah.
It's Devon's house.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we can go into some of that.
Wow.
But, you're married.
What?
So
So you're
you're
not,
not...
virgin. You're not 40 years old. But you have all the toys.
Yeah.
Not all.
Yeah.
did you get to meet the guy when he came down?
Yes, I met Bon a number of times actually. Super cool dude.
Yeah.
Very, very quiet, very soft spoken, but very appreciative of everything that Hawaii's brought to him. Because only people in Hawaii know Kikaida
Yeah,
and
yeah.
love it. The Japanese people go, who?
Right.
We know the current guy that's in the costume.
Oh,
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I went to college with him. I don't know if he's still doing it though.
I don't know. He built that costume, huh?
He did?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like Toei didn't have a costume. They had to build that thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hawaii has a big fascination with
No, so-
Kikaida.
When Devon's car got broken into, this is how much of a collector he is. When his car got broken into, a lot of things got stolen, but couple things in the back seat didn't. They passed on it. And one of them was...
My Kamen Rider V3 doll.
wow.
You know, the Metacom one. The
Yeah.
12-inch. Yeah.
They left that because
They left that because they were like, I don't know what the hell this
Right.
thing is.
yeah.
But that's the weird thing about collectibles, right? If you don't have sort of the real mainstream stuff, people don't think of it as collectible, but that's the very thing that's worth the most because it's not so mainstream, right? There's a very small niche for that.
Yeah, I like to think that the criminal that broke into his car was very sympathetic because they thought that was his kid's toy, so he left it behind. But no, it was Devon's.
No. It was just a chronic that broke into my car and
Yeah.
went, oh, I need the funny thing is I had a plastic bin. And so they emptied the plastic bin out and threw a bunch of crap in it. But in that plastic bin was the collectible stuff.
Oh,
So they
that's-
emptied out the collectible stuff to put like my shoes, like my golf shoes in there and steal that. So
So
right on.
let's talk about this Kamen Rider doll for a second. What is it?
Why?
Because I want to know how much it's worth.
Oh no,
I don't-
it's not worth anything more than what I put value on.
Well, and the problem is that it also depends on the condition of
Yeah.
the box and all that too.
Yeah.
So if it's not in the box, it's actually worth substantially less.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you take it
No,
out of
it's
the box
still-
and play with
nope,
it?
Still in the box.
And if it's still sealed in the box, it'll depend on the condition of the box.
Still in the box? Okay, so
Yeah.
what do you think that would be? Couple
No,
hundred?
that's a bad thing to ask him because if he hasn't seen it,
Yeah.
if he doesn't know, you know what I mean. You can't put a.
And I'd have to look at some market research on it only because it's such a specialized area that this is not one of those where you just look up on eBay and see what the last sales were because
Yeah.
there won't be enough sales to justify a market valuation. Yeah, you'd have to look at some auction houses and some more
Is-
a little more depth.
My cousin actually brought it home for me from Japan because he went to
Wow.
Japan where he walked into a store. I forget what the name of that area is, but he walked into the store in that area where it's all pretty much toy stores, and he was like, "Oh," because there was just Kikaida and Kamen Rider stuff everywhere.
Wow.
And so I asked him to buy that doll for me, but he goes, "Hey, just so you know, like the Metacom ones, the thing that people didn't realize is the plastic starts to degrade.
Yeah.
So
It's sticky.
I can't take it out of the package because if I take it out of the package, the whole uniform just comes off because it's stuck to the back of the package.
Yeah.
So you just gotta kind of leave it that way.
And the hard part with Hawaii is with the humidity, the
Yeah.
clear fronts of those packaging too, the box itself, oftentimes it yellows
Yeah.
or it gets a little loose, the glue, comes off.
Yeah.
There's a lot of goofy things that happen in Hawaii.
I would assume that collecting things like that and even shoes in Hawaii is a tough
It's
thing to
tough.
keep in good condition
It's
because of
tough.
the humidity and things just deteriorating.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, and salt air. I mean, we're so close to the ocean.
Yeah,
right?
like I have like vintage Oakley glasses, that I used to have when I was in the surf industry and stuff like that. I used to buy, and they're worth money because they're old. But then the ear sock and all the
The rubber parts.
rubber parts
No,
are
it gets
deteriorated,
sticky,
so
yeah.
sticky,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I don't know if that happens anywhere else,
I would think, maybe coastal California and all that,
Mm.
but really, we're unique in that the entire state is a coastal state, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's not really a nice, safe way to do it, which is why even, musicians, right, you deal with dehumidifiers in pianos, you deal
Yeah.
with dehumidifiers even when you're traveling inter-island. There's all these different things that we have to deal with, and just amazing things survive here.
Is the comic book industry also hampered by?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You could have a stash of comic books that you stuck into an airtight container that you think is airtight. But airtight, if you didn't suck the air out, there's still air in there, right?
Yeah.
So that humidity can cause it to yellow. And even, the old lighting systems we used to have, the incandescent lights, the edges of a lot of the comics are yellow, but the inside is bright white because the incandescent lights are at one point fluorescent lights. Cause this decolorization on the edges. It's like nice little yellowish brown edges, and that's that's not good for comics.
So we'll go back to a conversation we had when we were eating lunch.
Well, hold on, Kyle. I know you're getting
He
really
just
excited.
launches into the thing. Just
sure, right? When you get
like, breathe.
Okay, go ahead, John.
Well, let's start. So Darren, how did you end up in the collecting world? Like, what were you always collecting from when you were a kid, and you just grew your collection, or is it something that you thought of as like, oh, it's a business venture for me or something?
You know, it's funny. It's something a lot of my friends were into. I was a wannabe athlete when I was young. I think a lot of kids growing up in Hawaii, guys in particular, we all wanted to be athletes because, you know, you could play sports all year round, right? And so you connected with these athletes, and at the time, baseball cards were the thing, right? We talked off air about the Cal Ripken Jr. rookies, and back then you also had Boggs and Gwynn rookies. Of course, Don Mattingly the next year, and Darryl Strawberry, Doc Gooden, right? Those 85 Mets, all those different things, and you just kind of gravitated towards those athletes. Basketball wasn't as big back then. Jordan hadn't come out of the woodwork yet, and you know, that just gave you something to connect with. You know, my parents, my grandparents used to always take me to buy a pack or a couple packs for good grades or whatever it was, and that was the reward. It wasn't candy, it wasn't necessarily toys anymore. At that point, it was cards. When I was younger, it was toys. So, you know, back to the Kamen Rider and Kikaida, you know, I do have a couple of those, but Transformers were my thing. You know, and that was back in the day of, you know, the Transformers were so dang expensive. You had the Japanese versions and the American versions, and, you know, you had to decide which ones you could afford, you know, and so, you know, it just kind of built from there, and eventually it became one of those things where you can't not pay attention because it becomes way too expensive to not pay attention. You make bad mistakes along the way within the hobby. So I ended up having to study it, which is ridiculous to think about that, you know, anyone's studying collectibles, but I ended up having to do that just to make sure I didn't make more catastrophic mistakes than I already had at that point.
So you have so you spend a lot of time at Collector Maniacs then, because
No, you know
I
what's
remember
funny?
Robert had choke stuff.
For me, it was Jellies. You
Jellies,
know,
oh, yeah.
where the Walmart is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was me hanging out at Jellies, and right up the road was Strawberry Fields Forever.
Right,
So
right, yeah.
those were my places, you know.
Oh, okay.
Eventually, of course, it, you know, as time went by, it became places like Best of the Best, Paula's. I mean, the places we kind of know of now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But when I was growing up, it was Jellies, it was, you know, Strawberry Fields Forever, and it was the Moility Community Center, you know, monthly card show. And those community events, that was the thing. When I got into high school, it was attending the Kit Young show, which at the time
I remember
was the national. That was the big show, you know. So you got to see all these different things that now I wish I had bought, but I didn't quite have the money back then.
You being a collector at a young age, do you still hold on to any of those, or have you sold it and eventually when
There's only certain things I've hung on to. You know, my grandparents, they would go to Vegas all the time, as with most grandparents, I think.
Yeah.
And my grandma never knew what to bring back for me because they didn't really sell baseball cards up there. So I was into Star Wars. So she would bring back Star Wars figures on that cardboard.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I still remember the KB Toys or the Toys R Us stickers. She would go shopping for them. And because she bought those for me, I refused to ever sell those.
Because
you know?
it's sentimental.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I got lucky that she kept buying me stuff when I was into baseball cards, because that also meant that I wasn't opening or playing with them. So I still have at least a couple of dozen, still with the cardboard, still with the plastic, still with the KB Toy 99-cent sticker on it.
Wow.
Nice.
And some of them are worth pretty good money. But there is not a price that someone could pay me because of the sentimental.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so that there's some things like that I would never ever sell.
Do you remember the first trading card that you owned, or that got you into it?
Well, I do remember the one that mattered to me most was 84 Topps Don Mattingly, because at the time that was, you know, that was a $7-8 card. That was at that time kind of expensive for, you know, when you're a 4th and 5th grade kid, right?
Yeah.
You know, you have a card that's worth that much. Oh, that's lunch for a week, you know? So I remember that. I still remember taking those 9-pocket pages, cutting them into panels of 3, and I had my 6 Don Mattingly cards, one on each side, and that was my pride and joy. And the dumbest thing is I kept them so close to me that I guarantee you, condition-wise, those were so mangled because
Yeah.
they came everywhere with me.
Yeah.
I should have just left them at home, flat, someplace that they weren't going to get touched. But no, I took them everywhere with me. The stupidest thing I ever did.
But what I noticed too is those older cards, like one of my prized possessions was like a Ripken rookie,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
But they're not. Back then they were like $50, then the $85, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna retire.
Yeah.
And now it isn't worth that much. It's that.
Yeah.
It's that certain era of cards that you collect and you think at a certain time when it was highest value, and then sometimes you hold onto it for a little too long. Right?
Absolutely. But having said that, you're talking about an interesting era because in the early 80s, in the 80s in general, condition was so bad, and guys like me walking around with my best
Yeah.
cards all the time, that if you did have a PSA 10 or BGS 10, or these are grading companies, a really, choice version of that card, it is still worth pretty good money.
Oh, really?
It's all the other stuff, the stuff that, the PSA 7, 8, 6s, the stuff that in terms of the way we handled them back then, they just aren't very good condition. Yeah, that stuff probably
Okay,
not
let's
worth.
talk about that for a little bit because this was new to me coming back into the hobby. So
The grading thing?
yeah, so I collected cards when I was 10. This was in the 80s, right? And then I stopped for 30 years, and then now my son is into it. So now I'm coming back into this thing, and I buy these cards, and I talk to Daren. I'm like, how do I know what these things are worth? He said, well, there's this grading system now that
Yeah.
they've implemented. Is it worldwide, I guess?
Yeah, worldwide.
So instead of just you buying a baseball card now and you looking at it and you're thinking, what is this worth? There's a centralized system where you can send the card to. They will give it a grade
Okay, wait, you can send it to them and give them money.
and give
Yes.
them money.
Yeah.
Yeah. and the
that's
cost
an
is
important point to
usually
remember.
averaging how much just to get it graded.
exactly.
It starts at about $20.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do this. They put it in. They seal it in thick plastic and they send it back to you with a QR code on it and all that stuff. And that's how
It's
nowadays
registered.
it's registered like a system.
Yeah.
So when did that all occur?
It's actually been going on for a while. The reality, though, is in the last 10 years, grading became more important because, unfortunately, as the hobby got bigger, fraud became more prevalent, right?
Yeah.
And so you didn't just grade the card because you wanted to make sure that you had the best condition card. You were grading it just for marketability because if I'm selling to someone in the middle of Philadelphia and they have no idea who I am, and I'm telling them the card looks really good, look at these pictures, you can take pictures at certain angles that, don't really show the little scratch on the surface or the little rounded corner. There's different ways to do it where you could fake a guy out, right? And now you're trying to chase down your money. So grading became more important.
And the internet changed that. Then.
Absolutely, and but that also made it a worldwide market, right?
Yeah.
And with that, it's so much. And I'm gonna tell you guys, if you guys have cards that you're ever interested in selling, depending on the level of card, it's better to have it graded, even if it's a 5 or 6,
Because it's
then
authentic.
not only that. There's no question, right? If you
Yeah.
sell it to someone who's 60,000 miles away, it's a 6.
So,
Yeah.
if you're there's difference now. There's difference between an investor and a collector, right? When we were
Yeah.
kids, we used to just collect. We weren't investing. It's turned into an investing thing now, right?
Yeah, there are
Well-
those that claim that it's both, but most of the
It's
time, yeah, it's kind of the same now. It's
Daren,
kind of one and the
Daren
same.
is in the banking business, so I think his definition of investment is a little different. But
Well, so here's the funny thing, right?
Yeah.
One of the things we learned over the last, say, 5 to 10 years also is that the concept of store of value is more than just mutual funds, gold, silver, right?
Right.
You could have, there's guitars in this room. You could have trinkets that are stores of value. You don't have to have them be marketable securities or precious metals to be able to be sold for some kind of value. So where people may put their money into precious moments or Funkos or baseball cards, all they're doing is changing, now I'm going to get technical here, changing their cash asset into another kind of asset.
Yeah.
Right? And once you understand that, there is an investment game to play with collectibles, but it's a way riskier game than the stock market because no one has to file SEC filing on Wander Franco and that 14-year-old girl he was dating.
It's true. It ruined the whole collecting.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I talked about with some of my, so I have sort of this mini group of guys that we talk about the collectibles world as an investment. And one of the things I told them about 5 years ago is that, hey, you know what? Might want to start moving some of your cards and get comics. And, at the time, Stan Lee was still alive.
Yeah.
So let's go pick up some Stan Lee autograph stuff because the way some of the grading services work now, if they don't actually service the autograph session, you can't get it verified. They will not recertify it and slab it into a comic slab. So there's one limiting factor. 2, Stan Lee wasn't getting younger, right? Let's be real here. And Stan Lee, with the birth of the Marvel, MCU,
Signed the shit ton.
it was the thing. It was mainstream, right? So let's go get some of those. Let's go get some of the high-graded Stan Lee stuff, and let's put that away, a different store of value. Well, Stan Lee passes away. The MCU becomes
Huge.
ridiculously huge, right? At a level that I think even Marvel couldn't have predicted. And so now as a store of value, that was a great move because some of the cards that we kind of unloaded haven't held up. And here's the other thing I told people that I think is, if you're looking at this as an investment advice, just know anyway. So, well, we have to do that disclaimer, right?
Yeah.
I'm not giving you investment advice. However, one of the things I tell people is the difference between investing in sports cards and investing in comics is Hulk. And if he does in the comic,
or tear his Achilles heel or something.
and the market doesn't like the storyline, they'll just write a new storyline, and it's okay, right? They did that with, Captain America, and they had at one point a storyline where he was maybe part of the bad guys, right? And the market said, I don't think so. And they undid it. Oh, it was just part of a dream. Or, so there's different ways comics can do things. So if you're looking at sports because you love sports, do it as a hobby. And as a hobby, maybe you can make some money on the investment side. Right?
I just thought the hobby side is becoming more of an investment side because I don't see, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see a kid holding that Mattingly card like how you did when you were a kid because it meant more than just the money. It was your idol and your player. Now people look at it as dollar signs, and it's a different way of looking at it.
I agree in that regard, but I do think that there are quite a few people who, with the birth of the internet, have been able to follow international stars as well. So you do have people that are diehard collectors of certain international guys, right? Wembanyama is not new to the basketball world, right? It's just new to the NBA. So those that were interested in basketball, and there are, 9, 10, 11-year-old kids watching basketball videos all the time. They knew Wembanyama before he was drafted.
I don't even know who that is.
Number 1 overall draft pick, Spurs.
Okay.
And he's supposed to be the next coming of,
He's like a Giannis.
Tim Duncan.
Well, he's supposed to. He's 7'6". He's 8 inches taller than Duncan, 7 inches taller
What
than
is his
Duncan.
last name?
Victor Wembanyama. He's this French guy. He
I
played against.
I thought Yama was Japanese. I was like, wait, what?
No, but
All we got is Hachimura right now, bro.
yeah, and he's only half.
Yeah, exactly.
But well, Yuta Watanabe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but still, I mean, you're talking about they're able to follow guys and have sort of their desired hobby guys still yet, and these are people that are collecting them because they like the player, and they're not collecting just the cards. They want the jersey. They want so it's a different kind of collector, different kind of hobbyist, right?
Yeah.
The true card guy, when we were growing up, we didn't have access to game used jerseys, home run balls. We lived in Hawaii, right? The guys on the mainland could go to the game and catch a home run ball, right? We didn't have that here. So the guys here, the closest we could get was the 8x10, the card, the magazine. That was about it. Or the shoes when Jordans came out, right? These guys, no matter where they are, they can get whatever they want, memorabilia-wise, card-wise, picture-wise, of anyone they want. So there are a lot more collectors, but in terms of just sports cards, I think in terms of the card world, it's all investors or guys looking to make a buck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where is it now? Like, are cards still king, or is it kind of like I know the memorabilia market is insane as well. Like,
Yeah.
if you try to buy like a Star
It's
Wars
insane, but
glass-
there's not like I don't know. The thing I noticed is when it hit kind of the big nadir of it seemed to me like in the 90s, maybe 2000s, right? Everybody was going crazy with rookies for Michael Jordan and
we're
all
talking
that.
about
And
cards,
like in
yeah.
the 2000s, it sort of
What the
petered
pan-
off because
the-
like
Well,
Jellies
pandemic-
is
The pandemic
gone,
changed the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pandemic
Oh yeah,
changed
and then
that.
pandemic
Right.
happened, and it all kind of swept back up again.
And we're
but
we're talking about that earlier. Why do you think that happened?
Oh, it's actually pretty simple formula. You guys sitting at home doing nothing.
yeah,
Internet's right there.
yeah,
Cash coming in still yet because even though they weren't working, they had pandemic relief money. Pretty easy to go online and buy into some breaks, buy some cards and all that. So that made it easy. Where the jump happened was you had all these other areas where, we talked about some of the sneakerheads, right? The shoe guys. They really weren't able to buy and sell that many shoes anymore. It was
Yeah.
it was a different market. People weren't walking into stores, so different markets. So they went a different way. They looked for another store of value that they could move for other value, and that the easiest market at the time was cards, right?
And it went crazy.
Fast.
yeah.
Right.
It went crazy to a point where I looked at my collection and going, "Holy crap! I could like make a lot of money now."
Right.
That he doesn't keep at his house.
And then when the thing,
Or have any more for that matter.
Don't have anymore because
Yeah.
he got rid of a lot of his stuff. So
when the pandemic was over, did it normalize?
Yeah, it did. But what you did see was that upper end, the guys that are, say the Luka low number parallel autograph, the LeBron James rookie patch auto from Exquisite, the 52 Topps mantles, sort of the iconic cards, they're still ridiculous. Why? Because what happened during the pandemic is guys internationally could shop for the cards that they didn't know were available because they were sitting around doing nothing.
That brings me to a question that I had that I wanted to ask you. So yeah, because it's now become an international market, does baseball and basketball fare better than football? Because football is not international as basketball and baseball.
Or is it F1 now?
Well, F1 took over for a little bit, but the reality
F1?
is
What
Formula
that?
One.
Sorry.
Yeah, racing.
a car thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude,
Really?
F1,
But part of it was
yeah.
because they made only a limited number of products, and there's a couple of guys who are just incredible drivers. It's sort of like having Luka come out in 2018 when you had Luka and Trey, and that was it, right?
Yeah.
There was really not much else, so people were like, "Whoa, these guys are amazing." Same kind of thing, right? But when you look at the international market, baseball's interesting because now baseball is a global game, right? You're talking about Dominican Republic, Japan, Shohei Ohtani, right? There's
Yeah,
enough,
Shohei's huge.
right?
Yeah.
There's
My mom knows who
Korean guys.
Shohei is.
Right.
She's like, give me a jersey. I'm like, what?
But
Yeah.
Shohei is almost at the point where there's oversaturation in the market, too,
Well,
right?
I don't know about that because Michael Jordan transcends sport. So does LeBron. So does Shohei.
But
Yeah.
Michael
Right?
Jordan only had a set amount of cards released in his rookie year. I'm like, Shohei had a ton, right?
But LeBron did as well, and LeBron still has the best of the best. So there's still certain things that are worth chasing. And with Shohei, the fact that he's such a global icon and again transcends sport. Now you have people like your mom asking for a jersey. There are people who are not sports fans who just want to have something Ohtani.
Yeah, before I started collecting, I knew nothing about. I could not name you one baseball player except Shohei Ohtani.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's where you want to be if you're gonna be the guy
Right.
who has cards made and stuff like that. Because right.
And if you're gonna do this at a level where you think you can really turn this into a full-time business, you have to be taking those calculated risks. Is that the guy you're going to be buying a lot of with the hope that he becomes that guy? And the reality is you're going to make a mistake 40 times before you get that one right. So how are you, just like any other stock, how are you balancing and offsetting where your losses are?
How do you feel right now in this state where he's Tommy John surgery, he's off for a while? Will his card lower in value where you can start investing in it? Is a good time to buy?
I've said for years that the best time to buy is when no one else wants them, right?
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to. The last time he had this surgery, people dumped him left and right. There were base rookie cards that were $3-4. You can just, whatever, take them. I don't even want them anymore. And those same cards, even while he's injured now and going to not pitch next year, we already know that. You're talking those same cards are, $15, $17. When he was on this tear the last couple months, those same cards were $50. So, did you play that game correctly, right?
Yeah.
And as an investor, you have to know that.
When to sell, when to hold, when
And you
to
have
buy.
to be willing to sell at any time.
That's why I think, because I'm not into it nearly as much as the three of you are. So, I mean, I did it when I was younger. When I was younger, it was actually, it's your fault I got back into it in the first place.
What I did?
Because you guys would go to the freaking place and buy the box. And
we're chasing LeBrons, yeah?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
our other friend Cal Wong would do the same thing, right? He would be go to Paula's and buy the box, and everybody chip in because the freaking box is so expensive, and then everybody takes a pack and blah blah blah, right? So I did that part of it, but I think over the years, because I spend money on other stuff, I have a I don't know. I have a different perspective on it because for me, I'm like what you were saying. I walked into a card store this past weekend that I didn't even realize existed. Like in Kaneohe, they opened a card store, and I went, "Oh wow, a card store!"
Yeah.
And I walked through, and I'm looking at the Shoheis, which are $200, and I'm looking at the LeBrons, which are $250, and then I think to myself, you know what'd be kind of cool is to have like a Rui Hachimura card. Because he played for Gonzaga. That's where I went to school. And I thought, it'd be kind of fun is to pick up just the players who played for Gonzaga, right? Yeah. And just have those cards.
It's a good way to start a hobby.
But some of those cards are like $8, $9. And I go, do I want to pay $8, $9 for this? Or do I want to just let it go? And these are loose cards. Like you said, they're not graded at all. So I'm like, do I pay $8 for an ungraded card? Because that apparently is the thing. If all I'm going to do is have it and go, oh, this is kind of cool. I'll put these off to the side.
Did you text me when you were there? You go,
yes.
Should I buy this Jordan card? And I looked at it and I was like, no.
But see, that's what I mean, right? And for me, it's a thing of, okay, it's a $40 Jordan card. Or, no, I'm sorry, I'll take it back. It was like a $25 Jordan card. But it's loose. It's not graded. It's not from any sort of brand that I even recognized. It wasn't, it didn't have shiny stuff on it or any of that. But it was a cool thing of him dunking, and I went, oh, that might be kind of fun to have.
I mean,
right?
I guess the question you should ask me is, it's cool. Do you think I can buy it and put it on my wall? I just looked at it at pure investment sake. I looked like that's not worth nothing.
Well, and that's the interesting part of it to think about, right? Is do you, because I've also in a box wrapped in plastic is all these comics from Spider-Man 200 or 100 or whatever, right? That are sitting, they're not graded, but they are just sitting there sort of waiting for me to say, hey, maybe I should find out if I should grade these or do something with them. And sorry, and it's, I think coming to the table and knowing what you know, I'm like, I guess there is room for both, right?
Yeah.
Where people just go, meh, right, and that's okay. So if you're sitting out there going, I don't know why I'm listening to these guys because they're talking about earning a lot of money with cards and comics and all that stuff. The thing is, if it speaks to you, if it's something that's fun for you, then feel free to go do it, and don't worry about spending $5 for a card.
I've never earned a lot of money collecting cards.
No, you
in
never
my
do.
entire life.
Because every time,
but I own stuff that supposedly is worth money. But at what point am I going to sell it? I'm 50-something years old.
No.
I might as well start liquidating stuff, and enjoying, holding on to it for so long and reaping a benefit. But I just don't know how to go about doing it. And the other question is, the grading companies. It started off with Beckett, right? And then it's now PSA and all this kind of stuff like that.
And Beckett still exists. It's just,
Which one is the cream of the crop to have the highest value getting graded now?
So that's a loaded question because right now, sort of the industry standard, shall we say, is PSA. But there is a but. In terms of the market value, BGS or Beckett, they do have these pristine grades where it's a BGS 10 or a BGS Black Label, they call it. Those are going to get higher market value, but they're really hard to get. So honestly, the simplest thing I could do is tell you, just stick to PSA when you're not really sure what to do, because it's the easiest way, most recognized method of grading.
It also depends on who you're going after as your buyer too, right? Because a lot of guys would just go with a cheaper grading system to get a 10.
Yeah, but
and
then
some kid or somebody who's just new to the hobby went, "Oh, it's graded 10," and they buy it with knowing that it's not really a Beckett kind of 10 or a PSA 10.
Yeah, I think though that then comes to sort of one of the things I had said earlier, right? That I would feel bad doing
Karma.
that, right? I feel like karma's a bitch, right? So, if you were to do that, somehow, some way, that card would end up being $1 million card because you sold it with a low-level grading service no one's ever heard of, right? And there's quite a few mainstream services out there, and they're all well respected, but the market kind of is driving the bulk of the money towards, say, PSA, BGS, even SGC and CGC are a little bit lower.
Okay.
And I think when you're dealing with marketability for your cards, if you want to put the least amount of time into it, just stick to one of the top two, and if you want to put no time into it, just stick to PSA. It's the easiest way to go.
So your advice, buying cards on eBay for like someone like me and John and Devon, would be not to buy a loose raw card, probably buy a graded card that we can afford and hold on to that.
I think if you're going to look at it as something that you want to have just to have, the easiest thing to do is to just buy the graded card because someone else has authenticated it, someone else has graded it. Stick to the mainstream, grading companies. And again, the least amount of work you want to put in, then stick to PSA, and maybe even BGS, but PSA in general. And if you're not sure, you know how to get a hold of me. you can always ask me. But also too, talking about buying something that speaks to you, right? How many times have you seen someone walk into a store that they say, "I just want to look," and they walk out with a bag of clothes, right? Are they going to wear those every single day? No. Some of those things they may not even wear. So why did they drop money on it? Because it spoke to them at that moment. Posters. In the case of musicians, how many guitars can you play at once? How many ukuleles can you play at once? How many drum sets can you play at once, right? And yet, guarantee you have more than one. We won't have to talk about how many.
Yes.
Actually, not as many
John
as you
doesn't
would
have
think,
Yeah.
Well, as a violin player, I can tell you I have more than one also, but I can only play one at once. It's just one of those things. We can't help ourselves, right? But certain things, they speak to you, and that's different than as an investor.
Yeah.
If you're going to go into it as an investor, the worst thing you can do is walk in blind to a store and just randomly pick something up.
Yeah.
You have to put the time in. No different than looking at a company for stocks. Yeah.
So thank you for getting to that. You helped him get to
I was going to say,
an answer.
did he answer your question?
And actually, in answering his question, he actually answered mine, which is if I go into a card store or I call you and go, "Hey, I want to get a Rui, I want to get Sabonis, I want to get these 5." If they're graded, great. But now I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll just pick up graded cards because they're in plastic that aren't gonna get all screwed up, and I can just have them, put them over here. Because I'm not. There's no plan for me to sell them. But
and you're not also spending on the extra $20 to ship it off to get graded.
Right.
It's already done.
But the question then is, how much is a card like that worth? Because these guys they're not superstars. They're not gonna be. You know what I mean? So if I can do I just pick up rookies of their cards, or do I just pick up second year cards that are graded?
It sounds like you're not buying it for investment, though. You're buying it for a hobby, so it doesn't matter if it's graded or not.
Yeah, not only that, while buying them graded does make it easy because they're all standard, right? They're all in slabs and they're all standard. Yeah. The other thing that you do want to think about is because you're not buying them as an investor, you should buy them based on the image that looks cool to you on the card. Because some of the rookie cards look butt ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, there are certain cards that you think about with Jordan that are iconic. Yeah. And there's others that you're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do the players ever get a say of what goes on the card?
Usually not.
Because I was gonna say some of these cards, the pictures that they
put
really
bad. Yeah.
Yeah, they're really bad. They're like mid,
yeah.
The face is all distorted and stuff, and yeah.
Now these cards, it's mostly action shots, right?
It's not
just the big head of the person anymore.
Yeah. Well, the rookies are different because they do a rookie photo shoot. So they actually do have a rookie photo shoot, and at that time they're having them sign different products for release, for promotions and all that too. But that's also why a lot of the early rookie cards, they just look kind of dumb because it's just, you know,
Yeah.
Even the Griffey,
It's
even
like
the
a
Griffey
full
one was
headshot,
like,
too, you know?
yeah.
well, right,
Yeah.
Griffey's
Yeah.
upper deck, right? He's just,
Yeah, that was it.
and that's fine. If you just want the coolest cards that anyone's going to ever invest in are going to tend to be inserts or rookies.
Yeah.
So if you want just the cool cards that, you know, you don't have to really think, then yes, buy the rookie. But if you're just buying it for the sake of owning every single Gonzaga player that ever played, number one, they're not going to be that expensive.
I know. It's okay. It's okay.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Number two, buy the image that looks cool.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I can tell you that there's quite a few Rui Hachimura rookies where he's just like
yeah.
with the basketball,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
If that's
I
what
want to
you
get him
want,
dunking.
fine.
man.
It
You got to
brings
get
it-
him dunking.
It brings it back to the Barry Sanders rookie
Oh.
score. All it is his head.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with Troy Aikman, Deion Sanders.
Yep.
They all were the same thing,
Yeah.
right?
Like a
You know,
high school annual shot.
That's really what it was, right? It was like that, you know, and that's just the shot that they used. And if you like the rookie cards, then fine. But if you wanted something that looked cooler, that's not the
Okay.
card.
Well, now that we've gotten into that,
Well, Devin, before
what?
you go there, Kyle, why don't you take out your
Oh,
thing, because we'll
yeah.
have the
we're supposed to walk him through.
we're gonna-
Well, no,
and
this is
then go for your question.
okay. Because now you interrupted me, and now I can't remember. So thank you
Oh,
for
no.
that, because I just lost the whole thing.
Really?
Yes.
We're talking about buying stuff
I'm
that
old.
look cool to you.
I'm old, dude. You
Oh, you
can't
need some
interrupt the
ginkgo
thought.
biloba already.
You
Gonzaga.
can't
Yeah,
interrupt
bro.
the thought. It's
But
gone.
what if you couldn't remember to take it?
I know exactly. I gotta put a timer on it. and be like,
Wait, remind him.
I'm ready to pick up your
Ginkgo biloba.
skull. Okay, go do the card thing. Maybe I'll remember.
Ginkgo biloba time.
That sounds like a commercial.
Oh man. Well, so Devin has some cards here. Wanting to know if he can retire off of these.
Well,
So-
unless
so,
you have
okay.
a 52 Topps Mantle or a PSA 10 Jordan, and even then, I'm not sure you could retire.
But these aren't
off of
graded
them.
at all.
No, there is. I think.
So none of these are
There's one graded.
Okay.
There's one graded.
So-
Everything else is just.
So the people that are listening to this from audio won't be able to hear
yeah,
this. But
that's true.
Yeah.
let me see this. But the first card here is a Michael Jordan, and it's in just a thin plastic, and then Kyle has these other plastics that are thicker, and like you have to use a screwdriver to screw them shut, which are theoretically supposed to be more secure, but I've heard so many horror stories about people bending their card with this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember what my question
Or
was.
squeezing the
Oh,
card.
okay.
Can I do my
Shh,
question real
okay,
quick?
shh, Devin.
Yeah, no,
Yep.
don't interrupt me. Okay, so somebody's getting into it like John's son. If you were to tell them the brand to get into, like if you know what I mean, because there's so many. That was the thing that shocked me when I went in. I mean, it's been like that for years, but it seems like you go in there and there's a Prism one, and there's a Bowman one, and there's a regular one, and there's one that's just the.
But there's only like
So-
2 companies now doing it, right?
Oh, well, technically, yes,
Yeah.
but they still produce 1,000
Yeah,
different.
there's so
Yeah.
many different
There's
ones.
no
I mean,
upper deck anymore.
There is, but
There
it's
is.
all unlicensed. Yeah.
Oh.
So in terms of licensed product, there's only Fanatics owns Topps now, but Topps producing Topps and Bowman and those products.
Okay.
And then there's Panini that at least for the next couple of years will own the license on the others. Upper Deck actually has a license on hockey, but this is Hawaii, right? No one pays attention to hockey.
Yeah.
But
Sorry.
you know, so there still is Upper Deck. It's just they do a lot of unlicensed product.
So if somebody like John is gonna take his son and take him into a card shop and say, "Hey, son, you know what? Pick one of these packs, whichever one you want." Would you recommend a specific pack or
Yeah.
you
So
know, style or?
number one, it depends on the sport.
Let's
you know,
start
in
with
case
baseball.
of John,
Yeah.
John specifically was talking about baseball. So I absolutely recommended the mainstream products which would be Topps and Bowman because number one, Topps and Bowman, the only licensed products. There are other products by Panini. There's
So
other
license
products by
meaning
Leaf.
that they can stick the MLB logo
Logos,
on
yeah.
the card.
Yeah.
Okay, wait. Real quick. Upper Deck that's unlicensed right now. They're scrubbing the logos off the photos.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
And in many cases, they have an agreement with the individual player, not with anybody
Oh,
else. So that's why you
interesting.
see weird collections like there's Jordan with Gretzky, with LeBron, with a tennis player, with a, in the set,
Got
right?
it.
Makes it a cool set to
Actually,
chase,
it's pretty cool.
right? But at the same time, you want the LeBron Jordan Tiger triple or the Tiger LeBron Tiger Jordan Gretzky triple autograph. That's what you're looking for.
is scrubbed off Jordan's
Right. Right. But the thing is, Upper Deck has the exclusive, or had the exclusive on all three of those guys.
Wow.
I say had because there's rumor that LeBron may be doing a deal with Topps now.
Oh.
Oh.
I don't see a situation where Jordan leaves Upper Deck. So,
He probably owns part of Upper Deck by now.
well, he might as well. Right. But one thing's for sure, if LeBron pivots and does something with Topps, that creates a really interesting scenario because that means that you could theoretically have a LeBron Lakers year type product with an autograph. And Lakers fans are nuts, right? They're diehard fans.
Yeah.
No different than say Celtics fans or Cowboys or here 49ers, Steelers, right?
Yeah.
So when you have those kinds of situations, that market potential is ridiculously high. Then it'll tail off and come back to earth. Jordan licensed Bulls stuff will never come down as long as he stays with Upper Deck because you'll never see another licensed Bulls Jordan autograph. See, so
Interesting.
speaking from an investor standpoint, if you were going to throw $30,000 at something randomly, I would buy as many Jordan licensed autograph graded cards as I could. Right? In terms of baseball, you stick to Topps and Bowman and the base regular, they call it flagship Topps or Bowman products because they contain the most rookies. They contain the most chases in baseball. In the case of the Bowman, the first Bowman products are sort of where the real rookies are at in terms of value. By the time they come out to the major leagues and they have a rookie symbol, those rookies aren't worth as much as the first Bowman. So that's why I would recommend that. Plus, it's a long-term play. You can open it now. You make some money on the guys that are very valuable today. And 4 or 5 years from now, there's going to be somebody else that comes out no one ever heard of.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
And
makes
what
it cool.
What about football?
Football and basketball is pretty simple. If you're not going to drop crazy money, you stick to Prism or Select because those are number one, the shiny ones, which makes it cool for kids to look at. Number two, there's all kinds of parallels. So you can buy cheaper retail product and get different colored parallels. Some of them have autographs. Quite frankly, most of the autographs don't sell for as much, but you want the cool parallels. So pretty simple.
And nowadays you
Yeah.
can get quality cards at Target, at other kind of
You
big
can.
store kind of places.
Right.
Theoretically, if they're
Theoretically.
It's a tougher pull, and that's on purpose because they want you to spend at both the local card shop and your retail establishment, which is why they create different chases for where they release products. So your hobby products are going to have certain inserts, the retail products will not, and actually vice versa as well. So there's a sort of a reason to kind of play both sides.
That's good though. They're supporting the hobby shops.
That's
Places
important
like Paula's, yeah.
because
Yeah.
that social aspect of the collecting thing that all went away during the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
But that's also why these events, like we host a Pro Ridge show every second weekend,
That's why I
Right?
was over there.
right? And then
When
you
we
know,
were there,
the-
I went, "How come get all these guys with cars?
Right?
What's going on?"
Yes, him.
Oh, okay.
And then the
So I
national-
I saw you there.
Yeah,
I just,
yeah.
In fact, actually, I think he was the one who said, "Hey, you need some help with something?" Like, no, I'm good.
and then actually,
That's a
my-
nice
my-
Kamen Rider doll you carrying around with you today.
All right. You always carry it around like that.
How you put it on a baby arm and carrying it around?
You always have it in the cart. But my partner in that show is Lance Kaulukukui, and he's one of the ones that actually I always quote, and one of my favorite quotes of Lance is, "A good card is a sold card," and that's as an investor or as a guy who's in the business, that's right, because you're turning it from cash to card to cash, right? So a good card is a sold card. And I'm sure he has some things in his personal collection, and we'll see some of your personal collection, but his personal collection is really small compared to what he's willing to just sell.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what we
All
got.
right. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
see what we
So
got.
first we got a Jordan autographed card. So what do we?
Yeah, so this is a printed autograph. This is back when Jordan attempted to play baseball. You know what? I shouldn't
He's
ridicule
golfing on the
him
back of the
because
card. What is he?
He played.
Yeah.
He just was average.
and I guarantee you he hit a higher average than I ever could, so
Yeah.
that's fine. We got some condition issues, a little bit off-centered. Lower left-hand corner and the edge is not real strong. If this was a well-centered, clean card, I actually would say it's worth grading because, it's a printed autograph. But it's a cool card. It's one of the iconic cards from the few cards Jordan has as a baseball player. But unfortunately, in this condition, yeah, it's probably a couple of bucks.
See,
I'm just the bearer of bad news.
John told me that you're a dream smasher.
I am. Yeah. Oh, well, let me tell you this. You actually have an interesting Skybox Metal card here, Vince Carter. Skybox Metal, these were pretty tough to pull. Again, though, unfortunately, condition is a little tough. By the way, condition was tough on all of these.
Yeah.
Back then. First thing I would do is I would take it out of the screw down and I would put it into a magnetic because the screw down, I'm worried, might be squeezing the card. And with this particular card, you don't want it to be squeezing the card because you might lose some color on the surface. This is actually a pretty cool card, and I guarantee you, with a Vince Carter fan out there, this is an easy sell, and it's not going to make you retire or anything, but it's nicely numbered at 198 out of 250, and it's a really nice card.
All right,
this is probably the coolest. Well, of the two, this is by far the coolest card you've shown me so far.
Then?
Oh no, it's depending on really condition, and we got to take it out and make sure it's not sticking to stuff. You might be dealing with a couple $100 there.
All right. Yeah. Okay. All right. We got to win. We got to win.
Yeah.
Well, okay, and then we come back to Earth here. So, unfortunately,
what are you holding there?
Carmelo Anthony, Signs of Success, Upper Deck. This one.
What's Carmelo? It's got to be worth like $3.
Well, it's his rookie year, which is good. The problem is it's also in a Syracuse jersey, and Upper Deck had the opportunity to do license back then, but they also did these prospect cards. Mm-hmm. That includes LeBron and Lower Merion and all of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
That was Kobe and Lower Merion, and but the point is that they had these high school and college jersey, prospects. They just weren't as much. They just were opportunities for them to sell more product. The only reason why I'm saying, unfortunately, come back to Earth here is because Carmelo signed on the sticker, but the problem is it's a little bit off the sticker. So as far as grading the autograph, because there's streaks on it and it's off the sticker, you might be dealing with an 8 or a 9 autograph grade, which doesn't help you.
I see.
Right?
So even the autograph itself
matters.
Makes a difference.
It's
on
not
how
right.
they-
It's not right in the middle of the thing.
Right. See how the bottom of the Anthony comes off, and
Yeah.
also you see how the autograph is streaky. Those are problems. The centering on the card's pretty good. It's a nice card, and for a Syracuse fan, it's worth more than someone who's a Carmelo than just a Carmelo fan.
Yeah.
Because the Syracuse fans
They
are
didn't play for
diehard.
Gonzaga, yeah.
Yep.
Well, if you pay for Gonzaga, then it's worth
Devon Nekoba
$8,000.
stole
Oh,
$5
yeah.
right there.
Darren's.
Okay, so LeBron rookies. Actually, we'll start with the prospect rookie, because same thing, right? They produce these as prospect cards. This is
So that one
Akron
is
High
graded.
School or whatever.
yeah. So now there's a couple things. This is one of the older BGS grading labels. Now I bring that up only because the grading systems have gotten tighter over time. They will refuse that if you ask them. But anyone who sent in as many things to grade as I have will tell you, over time, the gradings have gotten tougher, and that's just fact.
And that also raises the
So the newer the
value.
label,
Yeah.
it gives you a little bit of a premium. Not a big one, but a little bit of a premium. One of the interesting things about this LeBron in particular is that it is one of his older autographs. And if you look at it, he doesn't come close to signing
No,
anything
it's a
like this.
unique autograph.
In fact, it looks like 23 when he signs now. So this autograph by itself, as an autograph 10, you might have some pretty good value here. And no, of course, it's his rookie year. What I would actually recommend, though, and this depends on how gutsy you want to be, I would recommend you cut it out of here. The surface grade is an 8. The edges are 9, centering and corners are 9.5. And I agree that it still looks like the surface, the corners and the centering is about a 9.5. The edges, I have to look closer, but it does look like it's pretty good. But if you can wipe the surface and see if there are any fingerprints, because usually an 8, there's fingerprints or there's some kind of imperfection from the different angles. I can't quite see a major imperfection. It might be worth having someone, take a microfiber cloth and wipe the card, not the auto, wipe the card, and have it regraded, because if you can get a 9 or a 9.5 on the surface by cleaning up what might be something as simple as a fingerprint, now you're talking about a couple of grand here. because you jump up from an 8.5 to a 9.5 on a rookie year LeBron with a 10 auto and a unique auto at that, even though it's a prospect card. That's what I would absolutely
Would somebody
recommend.
like Beckett take that and regrade it because of the new system? Or if you wanted it upgraded?
Oh, no.
updated?
No. What you would have to do is you'd have to crack it out. And because you'd want to crack it out yourself, and you'd want to have
be
the
scared of
surface wiped
cracking out.
down.
Man,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to crack that. I would be
Oh, by the way,
afraid.
people do that all the time.
No?
But no, I'm just letting you know. But that's why I'm saying what you need to do is you need to see if there are any fingerprints or surface issues that can be just
Buffed
wiped
out,
off.
yeah.
Yeah.
What if it's LeBron's
I always
finger?
wondered why that was. What if it is?
What if it's
no,
his
it's like
finger?
decals, so they
There's
stuck
no
it on.
chance it's LeBron's finger.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. So I was able to spend some time at Upper Deck on a tour one time, and I know how they do these stickers. In fact, I got to sticker some Upper Deck autographs.
Wow.
They actually put Vaseline on their finger. I know it's going to sound like I'm going the wrong way with this story. They put Vaseline on their finger. They take off the thing. They hold the card with their bare hands.
What?
And they put the thing down. The Vaseline prevents the fingerprint from coming off and makes it easy to place on the card.
Wipe it off.
But the problem is they don't then wipe down the card or whatever. It just goes into a stack. So it's possible that the person who was putting the sticker on left a fingerprint, which is why you have an 8 surface grade. Now, it's also possible there's a surface imperfection that I can't quite see, but I can
noticed
tell you
there's
that...
a nick on the hologram itself.
Yeah, but that's not a big deal. I would think that there's some kind of thing on the card that, if you can get it just wiped
So
off.
as it is right now, what is the card worth? Like $200?
Nah, it's probably still a couple of grand because this is rookie year and it's a unique auto in particular with the auto 10. But I can tell you why someone might pay a little bit more, is they might be thinking the same thing I am, which is, okay, I'll buy this, I'll crack it out,
Do the same
I'll
thing.
wipe down the surface, get rid of the fingerprint, and I'll come back with a 9.510. And now I'm gonna triple my money.
Yeah, sure.
Triple your money?
Probably
Wow.
8.5 to 9.5.
Because the grading on that is pretty good on the corner.
Yeah.
The surface.
The only thing you got to worry about, of course, is with their tougher grading system now, you end up with 9.5999 and ends up a BGS 9.
But if I crack that, bring it in, and it's a 7.
Well, therein lies a problem, right? But you have to make sure you crack it nicely and you don't damage the card in
Don't do
doing that.
man.
No, I wouldn't recommend you do it. No
Yeah,
offense.
no way.
But yeah, so that's why from a marketability, this is a really nicely marketable card. And the uniqueness of the autograph, in my opinion, makes it even more interesting.
Well, I'm glad I kept that card.
Good job, Devin.
But John, I think you should cut it out. You should do your friend a favor, cut it out. You've got, some dexterity and everything as an
I
instrument
don't know,
player.
man.
I mean, it's only a couple of grand. What's a few grand?
The other year, I bought a reciprocating saw. I had to cut down a fence.
Yeah, maybe not that.
No,
Yeah.
probably not.
I pass this back to Devin. Okay,
So now these next two are actually nice cards because they are sort of the iconic LeBron standards, right? You have the regular tops and the tops chrome. Unfortunately, I will crush your dreams by telling you that you can't retire with these two cards because centering on these is rough. And honestly, centering on these were tough to begin with. These products just, they just kind of didn't care.
Yeah.
They punched them out when they punched them out, which is why if you can get a PSA 10 or a BGS 10 or BGS Black Label, that's why they're worth so ridiculous amounts because the population is relatively low. Now, having said that, even if this Chrome card came back a 7, it's a 6 or 7, but if it came back a 7, you're still talking about a $600 card.
Yeah.
So...
But, okay, so in LeBron's year, he had tons of rookie cards.
He did, but these are the two main ones.
There's stuff that I have is just common rookie LeBron cards. I got tons of them.
Mm-hmm.
But what if you found one
centered?
No, it's not. What if you found one in those common rookies that are pristine?
Probably $300-400.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's still even with the really cheap, quote unquote cheap,
Yeah.
LeBron rookies, there's still upside marketability on a really nice card.
So is there somebody that you can go to that would look at a collection and go, you should try to grade this one?
There are a few people here that would help you. I mean, I'd help you, and I do. At these shows, there's a lot of people that come up and ask me, what do I think about...
What is your fee for that kind of... advice?
For you guys, free, but for you guys, $2 million.
You would charge a fee, right?
No, I don't. But let me tell you why I don't. Because just like on my radio show, why I feature any store that wants to be on, it's because I want it to be pro hobby. If I can't help you understand what you got.
Big believer in the hobby.
I don't help the hobby, right? So if I tell you should grade all of those and you get 5s and 6s, you think, what a jerk. But I tell you up front, hey, look, here's why you grade them. And it may come back a 6 or whatever, but it'll make it easier for you to sell, because then you can take your money, put some additional cash in, and buy the 9. Right? Then upgrade to the 10. Or one of the gambling phrases we talk about is coloring up, right? So you take a couple of these cards, maybe you sell a few of them, and then you go buy a really iconic LeBron or Jordan rookie, graded PSA 10 or a true gem 9.5 with a 10 auto, those kinds of things. You can sort of put them together and color up to a nice single card. There are some people who do the exact opposite. They take a really valuable card they have and they trade down because they want more quantity. But in the hobby, that's probably not the right thing to do, because the more iconic the card, the more special it'll continue to be forever.
Yeah.
Well, Daren, we've come to the point of the show. Technically, we're a music channel.
Oh.
We have one music question for you.
Oh, no.
So if you were stranded on a desert island for the rest of eternity and could only take 3 albums with you to listen to for the rest of time, what would those 3 albums be?
Well, of course, I'd have to take a Pure Heart album, because that would just be wrong to not do. I mean, I think that's... No, and here's the funny thing. There's a real reason to that.
How do you guys know each other?
We went through real estate. There's there are opportunities all the time for lenders and realtors to mix, because we want to mingle within the. So I met him through that, and we've just been.
And of all the weird things, the reason why I got back into listening to local music is because of them. I mean, I was I grew up like all kids here playing ukulele and all that stuff, and Kyle Creator Boys and all, and I stopped. I just was done. I was a violin guy, I got into musical theater. I still musical direct with Castle Performing Arts Center and all of that.
Oh.
No, yeah, right. So, and I just distanced myself from everything else. But we did a couple of things where they were performing. I was there with musical theater things, and I just kept hearing their stuff, and I was like, okay, all right. I gotta get back into the local music scene. So I'm not joking when I say, Pure Heart did bring me kind of back into that. So when we connected over real estate, I was like, I know who you are. Yeah.
Where did you go to college?
UH.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then, beyond that, it would probably be some kind of Broadway classics thing with, right? And
Man,
probably
I should
something
have had
Josh
you. I wish
Groban.
you'd been on with us last week. I would have invited you to the Rodgers and Hammerstein thing.
You know what? I would have gone. I was just tied up. I had so many things going on. Yeah, because with everything going on, so we're in the musical direction process now, developing Damn Yankees at Castle,
exactly.
right? At the same time, I'm serving on NACOA's board for University of Hawaii football team. The day job thing. I mean, there's and there's so many other moving parts, and I'm even doing some consulting with the junior chamber, and there's just so many things going on.
You're a busy guy,
right?
Yeah.
How do you even have time for a hobby?
And he's running the card show at Pearl Ridge every month.
I know.
Yeah, and that. On top of that, of course, there's the radio thing, and there's so many things going on. But I don't have enough opportunities to get out there and see as much as I'd like to, let alone go to live concerts or live performances as much as I'd like to anymore. So I would have loved to. I would have been there if I wasn't busy.
Okay.
Wait, are you saying the last 2 would be Broadway?
Well, one would be probably a Broadway thing and maybe like a Josh Groban thing, just because I like, listening to Josh Groban. But
people say I look like Josh Groban.
Maybe when he was younger and no beard and mustache.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, because he's a skinny, goofy-looking dude.
But he also now has the beard and mustache thing going.
Yeah.
So.
Sweeney Todd. That's
Josh
fine.
Groban.
Yeah.
You look more like a Asian Michael Cera.
Yeah, I've gotten that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'd go with Josh Groban more.
No, I can see that. The young Josh Groban? Yeah.
Yeah, I would take Josh Groban all day, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could see the young Josh Groban thing. Yeah.
Well, we can find you October 14th and 15th over at Pearl Ridge Mall.
Absolutely.
Stop by your booth.
Bring your collection down. I'll help you.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah,
Wait,
yeah.
Are you going to go on the next
I
one?
will be, yes, on the 15th. So I will see you there.
You can go.
Until then, so
Check
we
it out.
don't.
I'm gonna talk to him after this and just pick up the stuff at his house or something.
Yeah.
Cause mine, I don't need to make money. I just wanna get the players and I'm done.
Yeah. So no podcast next week, but we will be back on the 17th with McKenna.
Oh
Madu.
yes.
Oh,
So
right on.
Yeah.
we'll be looking forward to that. Until then, we'll see you later. Thank you so much.
Take care.
See you.